what is the position of agreements if a minor enters into them? As I said, there are two reasons why a minor can't enter into contracts. First is to protect himself, that is for his own protection, he should not be entering into contract. Because you have to understand that under any contract, whoever enters into a contract, he gets one right. At the same time, he has to bear a liability. But since a minor does not have any income, or possibly he may not own any properties, he cannot undertake any liabilities. He cannot undertake any responsibilities because he is not capable enough to perform such responsibilities. He is not capable enough to earn his income and repay his liabilities. He does not have the potential, the required education, the skills, the talent, or possibly his mental status is not such that he can earn money or think like an adult person. So the court says a minor cannot enter into contracts for his own protection because his mind is not developed as yet. He cannot understand what are his rights and liabilities under a contract. And even though he may be able to understand, he may not be able to perform or fulfill his liabilities. So, for his own protection, a minor is debarred from entering into agreements. So now let's see what are the points under this heading. First, we've already discussed this. A contract or an agreement with minor is void ab initio. Please remember this. Any contract entered with a minor is always void ab initio. The next is no refund. Even if a minor has received any benefit, any money, any goods under a void contract, he is not liable to return them. Now, this point also we've already discussed while discussing the case Mori Bibi versus Dharmadas Ghosh. In that case, it was held that a minor is not liable to restore the benefit. The benefit that he's gotten, he should not be restoring it. He is not liable to restore it. Now, why was that pronouncement made? Because when a person is transacting with a minor, he should transact at his own peril. He should transact at his own danger. Or even if a minor is fakely projecting himself as a major, the adult person should make a thorough background inquiry. He should be careful enough that to make sure that he is not doing an agreement or transacting with a minor. So it is the responsibility of the adult person. And under that contract, even though he may have given some benefit, he is not liable to receive it back because it was his duty, his responsibility to check if the counterparty is a minor or not. The next point is fraudulent age representation by minor, it still is void. Even though minor fakes his majority, he is a minor, yet he is projecting himself as a major. That does not make a contract valid. The contract still remains void ab initio. So, in this point, we can say a minor can always plead minority, even though he has done something wrong, even though he has committed a fraud. He can always go to the court and plead, "Sir, I am a minor, please pardon me." So, a minor can always plead minority, even though he has done something wrong. The next is no ratification after majority. Now, I'll just explain this point with an example. Let's say a minor goes and takes a loan from any adult person. Let's say minor takes a loan of 10,000 rupees. Now he is of the age of 17 years. But the counterparty does not know that he is a minor. So he's transacting with him. And he advances him a loan of 10,000 rupees, which the minor says, I'll repay you in 6 months. So after 6 months, the lender comes to the minor and tells him to repay the money. The minor says, sorry boss, I do not have the money. Whatever money you gave me, I've spent it. So now I'm left with no money. I cannot repay you. So the lender says, you had promised me that you'll repay me the money in 6 months. So now the 6 months are over. You'll have to repay. You had made a contract with me. So minor says, contract? Don't you know all contracts with minors are void ab initio? So on this, the lender says, I didn't know you were minor. So minor says, it was your mistake. You had to get the background checks done. So the case was settled there, saying the minor is not liable to repay. But however, after a year passed, 2 years passed, the minor realized that he had cheated that person. He had taken 10,000 from that person, and now he hasn't yet returned the same. So probably his conscience pricks him. So what he does is he goes to the he goes to the lender and tells him that I accept that I had taken rupees 10,000 as a loan from you 2 years back, and I also agree that I haven't repaid them as yet. But at that time I was a minor, so that contract was void. But now I am a major. I was 17 then, so after 2 years, that is, now I am 19. So now I have the right to enter into contracts. So now what I do is I am ratifying the contract that I had made when I was a minor. Now, what do you mean by ratifying? Ratifying means giving a later consent or giving a later acceptance or agreement. Which means that the minor is saying, okay, now I am a major, now I am making that contract valid because now I can enter into contracts. So now I'll repay you 10,000 within a month. So the 1 month passes. The lender comes to the now he is a major. So comes to him and asks him to repay. Now again, this person says, I do not have money, I'll not repay you. What do you think? Does the lender have any legal remedy in this regard? Can he go to the court and say that this person who was minor earlier has now ratified his contract? He has now given a later acceptance that yes, he had taken 10,000 from me when he was a minor, and now he is accepting it and undertaking the liability to repay it, but not has repaid, is again defaulting. No, the lender does not have any such right, because a minor, when he becomes a major, cannot ratify his contract. He cannot say that the contract which he had made when he was a minor is now valid. Even though he has the capacity to enter into contracts now, he cannot validate the contract which he had made when he was a minor. However, he can enter into a new contract. He can make a new contract saying that he will pay his 10,000 rupees, but he cannot validate the earlier contract. Ratifying means validating the earlier contract, giving a later consent to a earlier contract, which is not possible. A minor, after becoming major, can only make a new contract after becoming a major. He cannot validate or ratify an earlier contract which he had made when he was a minor. Okay, we move on to the next point. A minor can be a beneficiary. A minor can be a beneficiary. Now, what do you mean by a beneficiary? Beneficiary means a person who has to receive some benefit. A beneficiary means a person who has some right that he needs to enforce on someone. In short, he has to receive something. He may have to receive some profit, he may have to receive some loan, he may have to receive some goods. But he does not stand with any liability. He only has to receive the benefit. Now, if you remember, at the starting of this section, I told you why has law not allowed a minor to enter into contracts, because the law does not want the minor to undertake any liabilities, because the law thinks minor cannot perform liabilities or perform responsibilities. But now here the minor is not performing or undertaking any liabilities or responsibilities. He is only a beneficiary. It is the opposite. He has to receive some benefit. So do you think the law will stop him? Do you think the law will not allow a minor to be a beneficiary? No. The law says minor can always be a beneficiary. If a minor makes a contract in which he is only a beneficiary, that contract will be valid. That contract will be valid. However, he makes a contract wherein he has to receive some benefit, at the same time he has to perform some duty or liability or some responsibility. That contract will be void ab initio. Where a minor is only a beneficiary, that contract will always be valid, and thus we can say that a minor can always be a beneficiary. However, a minor cannot become a partner. A minor cannot become a partner, because to become a partner you need to have unlimited liability. You would have studied in your 11th and 12th class that a partner has to have unlimited liability in a partnership firm. Unlimited liability implies that if his partners become insolvent, he will have to repay the debts that are taken by them. And even if his capital is wiped off, he'll have to bring money from his house, he'll have to bring money from his personal assets and repay the loans of the partnership. So that makes the liability of partners unlimited. But I said minor can never contract any liability. He can never have any liability. So how can he become a partner? He cannot become a partner. However, to this rule also, there are exceptions. Minor can become a partner only under certain circumstances, only if some conditions are fulfilled. Those conditions we'll do thoroughly when we study the Indian Partnership Act 1932. For now, I'll say that minor cannot become a partner. However, he can become a partner if certain conditions are fulfilled. The next point is no stopple. I've already discussed this. Minor can always plead minority. There's no stopping to a minor to plead minority, even though minor has done something wrong. He still can appear in the court and plead minority before the judge, and judge will not be able to rule any case against a minor. Judge will have to pardon the minor because law says a minor can always plead minority even though he has done something wrong, because whatever wrong he has done because he's a minor, being a minor. So if the law thinks that he's a minor, it also assumes that he's not mentally that developed, he's not mentally that mature to be doing all things rightly, correctly, or as per law. So the law gives him some leeway, saying that he can always plead minority. So these were the points because of which a minor cannot enter into contracts, and these points help a minor himself if he is entering into contracts. This is for the protection of minor himself. Now what regarding the protection of adults? Now we'll study some points. If a minor enters into agreements, what is the position of the adults? The first is supply of necessaries. There are many minors who are orphans, whose parents die at a very early age. Let's say they were 3 years, 4 years, or 7 years old. Both their parents died. What about such kids? Who will take care of them? Because we said minors cannot enter into contract, so they cannot contract with someone and say that, oh, we have so and so properties, our parents have left us with so and so properties, you take care of us and we'll sell the properties to you. Or they cannot go in the market and sell their properties, have money and buy goods for themselves because they are minors. So don't you think there should be someone who could take care about them? And if he is taking the care, don't you think he should get something in return? The court is also of this opinion. The law is also of this opinion that if a person supplies minors with some necessaries. Now, what do you mean by necessaries? Necessary means it does not mean only necessities, because by necessities we imply food, clothing, and shelter. But necessaries is a broader term. Necessaries implies education. Necessaries also includes medical treatment. Necessaries may also include transportation facilities for minors to go to school and come back, or go to classes and come back. Necessaries may also include basic sports material for the minors. So necessaries is a broader term than necessities. Where necessities only include food, clothing, and shelter, necessaries have some more things which are included in them. So if a person supplies a minor with necessaries, what should he get in return? The law says the assets, the property, the estate of the minor is liable in such case. That is, whatever property the minor has, whatever assets or whatever estate implies property only. So whatever properties or estate or assets a minor owns, he has a right in them. He can, the person who is giving necessaries to the minor, he can sell those assets off and get his repayment or get his reimbursement of those necessaries that he has supplied to the minor. In this case, again, I shall say that minor personally is not liable. Let's say if the minor does not own any liability, does not own any assets or properties. What in that case? If a person supplies him with necessaries, how does he get the reimbursement of those necessaries? He'll not be able to get the reimbursement because he cannot ask the minor to repay, because a minor will never be personally liable. What is liable? His estate, his assets, his property is liable. So the person supplying the necessaries can sell the properties of the minor on his behalf and recover or get the reimbursement of the cost that he has borne for necessaries supplied to the minor. So now this is a protection to the adult. So if an adult is providing some necessaries to the minor, he can recover those from the estate of the minor. This is important. Against the minor's property, not against the minor personally. Please remember this. Next is contract by guardian. Can a guardian or a parent enter into a contract on behalf of a minor? Yes, they can. A parent or a guardian can enter into contracts on behalf of minors. The only condition is the contract should not relate to purchase of immovable property. It should not relate to purchase of immovable property. Immovable property means a property, something like a shop or a house or a building, any asset which is not movable, it is fixed. So it should not relate to immovable property. All the other contracts, the parents or guardians can enter. The last point is parents or guardians are not liable for the contracts done by minors. Let's say minors enter into contract and later on they default, they do not perform their promise. What do you think? Will the parents be liable? No. The aggrieved party who has been defaulted, who is the victim party, cannot go to the parents or guardians of the minor and say that your kid has defaulted, your ward has defaulted, so now you stand to be liable, you repay me. No, they cannot go to the parents or guardians, because parents or guardians of the minor are not liable for the contracts entered into by the minors. Even the minors personally are not liable. How will the parents or guardians of that minor be liable? They cannot be made liable in such contracts. So with this, we are done with the position of a minor and the adults if a minor enters into a contract. The status of the minor himself and the adults when the minor enters into the contract. Now these are very important points. If you have any doubts in these points, I would ask you to replay this section as many times as possible to get them digested, because this topic, the minus topic, is very important from the examination point of view. Okay, so we move ahead. There are